All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Thursday or rainy Thursday here in Atlanta. Today, we're going to talk about inclusivity and genealogy and what that really means in a full scope of the terminology, really. So, I am Kate. I am one of the co founders of Archoral, and I'm joined with my cohort, Laverne, and bringing you a new way to archive your family history. Okay, so inclusivity in family history. This is where we discover the texture of life. So inclusivity has taken on a pretty modern meaning, but we're going to look more at the general meaning of it. We're going to start by looking at humanity. This is humanity as a whole. We are a collection of stories and of people. Currently, they are broken down by birth, marriage, children, and death. But what that really does is that turns you into statistics. You become facts. You don't really become an individual. But what if you added in some education, some migration reasons, maybe some employment? Then you start actually seeing people. You start seeing individuals. But what about if they were adopted? Maybe they were members of some clubs. Maybe they served in the military. How about the reason for the tattoos that they have? Something that simple. Maybe they changed religions or traveled the globe. You start adding in all of these details and you start getting the color. You start getting the texture of what makes each one of these people an individual, a truly unique person. That texture of life is created where influences and expressions overlap. We have relational influences, we have societal influences, and we have personal expressions. Relational influences is life that exists beyond the biological. It's the people that we surround ourselves with that shape us. The first group I like to call the chosen. Chosen are the adoptions, the fosters, the guardianships, the people that choose to take on caretaking roles that expand the definition of family. Then we have the complex. This is where our donors, our half siblings, our step families, this is where they come in. They really kind of start to shape identity and belonging. The next is the traditional fan club, our friends, associates, and neighbors. These are the everyday relationships that shape our perspectives, our choices, and our sense of place. They're all equally important relationships. Then we move on to the second one, societal influences. These are cultural and religious influences. These are the rituals, the beliefs, the heritage. It's what infuses families with meaning and a sense of community. Then we have political and military. These are the loyalties that connect a personal identity to a collective history. This is societal involvement in things that shape the community. The last one is personal expressions. Now, your tattoos, piercings, and scars. These are visible and invisible marks that map passions, pain, and personality. Think about your grandfather had that tattoo from the war. What did it mean? Where did he get it? Who was he with? Why? Generally, things like tattoos tell you a bit about the essence of the person and what they held dear to them. Then we're going to look at gender identity and union ceremonies. These are evolving expressions of selfhood and commitment that honor love. That's a pretty important topic, right? Honoring love and commitment. The next one is going to be our hobbies, athletics, and interests. This is where you have individual passions, pursuits that reflect how we express ourselves. We generally form our deeper connections with people that we choose to interact with on topics like this. So the next question, how do we capture all of this information? With our coral. That's why we're here today, right? So in this presentation, we are going to cover profile creation, which includes gender identity and sex at birth. We're going to explore what the difference is and the importance. Then we're going to look at some of our relationship options and take a tour of our relationship builder. Then we're going to slide on over to the live application, and we're going to explore a person's profile, which includes additional names, variable statistics, the life timeline, and then we're going to explore our media indexer, because remember I said profile and media-based. When we explore our media indexer, we're going to check out our union ceremonies, our other events, and we're going to look at some additional available fields that help you capture that inclusivity, to capture those textures and details. All right, so there's our cap. So let's get started. Profile creation and gender identity, difference between them and the importance of both. This is our quick create person profile form. You're going to see these fields throughout the application. Anytime that you create a new person, add a new profile, the same form is going to pop up, just maybe squished to fit where it belongs, but it all works the same. So the requirements for this form is one name field. It can be either first, middle, or last, and it can be whatever you choose. If you want to put a nickname in there because that's all you know, that is perfectly fine. Then life status, living, deceased, or unknown. Then we're going to go to privacy type. For now, this is just going to default to private, and it's going to stay that way because your information is your information. All right, so let's look at sex at birth. Sex at birth is what is generally a legal description. It is most likely found on government documents. It's your birth certificate, your driver's license, your passport. This is a genetic, physical description used from birth. Most places define these with a pink or a blue ring. Intersex is a commonly used one, especially historically, so we will represent them with their flag. So gender identity, this is self-expression. This is how you feel, how you view yourself in the world, which is equally important because, again, we're capturing the texture of what makes a person themselves, what makes them validate themselves. So with these, we have a few more options besides the pink and the blue. We represent each one of these gender identities with their corresponding flag. Now, people say, why? Where are we going to use that? Well, when we create profiles, we have the traditional blue and the traditional pink. But then we're going to give your rings to be your gender identity, how you feel about yourself. And then soon, when we release trees, very soon, you'll see them in the profile cards in your tree. So they're going to become a little bit more apparent. All right, so let's take a look at relationships. We're going to take a glance at all the different options, and then we're going to do a small tour of the relationship builder. And then we're going to move on to the application. So our relationships, they are all about the people. Remember those three groups that we talked about? We have the biological, but then we have the chosen, the complex, and the everyday. They're all part of our story. So look at this craziness. We've got biological, adoptive, half, step, chosen, foster, donor, guardian, spouse, family-in-law, your God family. You have your academic, your business professional, your personal. Over 14,000 relationship combinations can be done within Archoral. Now, I know, take it one step at a time in any order that they're found. It's not as overwhelming as it seems, I promise you. So let's take a look at the builder itself and how we're going to take it one step at a time. This is Caleb's profile page, and I've navigated us to the relationship section. I'm going to come up here and click Add Additional. I'm going to click on that little sucker, and it's going to open up the relationship builder. So the first thing I'm going to do is enter in the related person. Who is it that I want to have in relation to Caleb. The focus person, we're on Caleb's profile. So the focus person is Caleb himself. And then the related person back to the focus person is because we're not going to assume what your relationships are. We're going to get into that when we look at the media indexer. Profiles, media, same task, two different directions. Here, I've got the relationship header, and I'm going to click that sucker, and it's going to open up the same form in the media. Here, we've got a little bit different way to go about it. We're going to choose a focus person. In this case, I'm going to choose little baby Maya. Then we've got a related person, and I'm going to choose her dad, Michael. I'm going to use the indexer relationship builder to define how their connection works. So we chose the focus person and we chose the related person. Now we're going to talk about what kind of relationship is it? Is it familial or non-familial? We'll choose familial. Then we're going to look at what type of connection: adoptive, biological, foster, God family. The whole list is here. In this case, we'll choose biological. Then we're going to talk about the focus person to the related person, Maya to Michael. She is a child, so we're going to choose child and dependent. And then here we break it down one more to specific role, because you have gender neutral, you maybe don't know the gender, you have conservative, you have ward, you have options. So you can capture what yours specific is. In this case, we're just going to name Maya the child. Then we're going to do the reverse relationship. If you notice, the role relation for parent guardian automatically filled because that is the opposite of the child dependent. So now we're going to choose the specific role. And in this case, we're going to choose father. So now what you have got is a reciprocal relationship between the focus person and the related person. It works both ways, and the connection goes into both profiles. And what you get is a happy little family. That was actually a happy accident that I couldn't pass out. So I hope it made you smile. All right. So now we're going to move on over to the live app and do some more exploring. This is Archoral. This is our application. When you first log in, you're going to land here on your catalog. Your catalog is going to contain all of your profiles and all of your media that pertains to a singular topic. When we look at it from the profile standpoint, we see person and location profiles. But what we're going to explore today is our person profiles. Specifically, we're going to look at Caleb. So I am going to close all these so it's not as overwhelming. So here in the Facts tab, we have additional names. Additional names take on a whole lot of forms. If I want to add one, this will help explain it. We have a date, the new name, but we can denote the type of name, the adoptive, the alternate spellings, the family name, married name. We can do nobility, stage and pen name. If you're a performer, that is beautiful. All of the different facets of a person can be held here. And this is also great for finding research hints, because if you find a document or a letter or something that calls them by a different name and you have a date, you can go back and look at what changed. What was the new event that was happening in their life, and gives you more depth on that person. All right. So vital statistics permanent is birth and death. That's inclusive of data, but not the texture. So let's look at the variables. This is where you can actually watch a person grow and change over time. If you'll notice, gender identity, at what age. Then we've got the specific growth, complexion and skin color. People ask me, really? I said, well, that can change over time. Left and right-handed. If I have a picture of grandpa, he's got two hands, and then I've got a picture of grandpa and he's only got one, that's going to ask me why. Well, that's part of his story. That's part of his texture. So if we include in that story that he was a drunkard and got his hand caught in the plow, or he was a really hard worker and he rescued somebody, that gives you some texture to his personality. Blood type, that can also change. So if we include these kinds of vital statistics, we may discover that there was a trauma where they needed a massive blood transfusion or a bone marrow transplant. Again, gives you another chapter, another piece to them. All right. Now we're going to go and we're going to explore the media indexer. And we're going to look at that from Michael's standpoint. So we're going to look at Michael Jr. and we're going to go over here to timeline. So as you can see, timeline takes into account a whole bunch of different activities. They can be academic, they can be social, they can be cultural. Everything that happens in your life is an event that can be captured in your timeline. What we're going to explore is his union ceremony. So we're going to come over here and look at his pretty little bride. And let's explore this one. My doggo's working awfully hard in the storm today. So in this particular one, I'm able to identify the people, which gave me the option to put in all of their profiles, which created those profile cards. Then in relationships, I'm able to actually capture the relationships between each one of these people. I can capture that Jacqueline is the biological daughter of Harold and the adoptive daughter of Darlene. Then I can capture the friends. And look at this one. She's got two relationships to Tiffy, a personal friend and a classmate. That starts to give you more texture. The more information you include about your people, the more that texture comes to life. Okay, let's take a look at our events. This is where cultural inclusivity really starts to take shape. So this is a wedding photo, but we don't call it wedding in Archoral. We call it a union ceremony because not all cultures consider it a wedding. So in our union ceremony, we have a focus person. Remember how we did that back in profiles? We're going to choose the main person that is the topic of our particular activity. And then we're going to put in betrothed. Not everybody calls it a husband and wife, and it's not always a opposite sex union, is it? The other fun thing is in many cultures, you can have multiple betrothed. It can be a multi-person union. So our betrothed will accept as many people as you need to put in there. We've got our date. We're just talking about the ceremony. We're indexing this particular media. So we're not going to put in the reception, but we could. Then how about including the officiant? There's a great connection there. Why did they choose that person? The attendees. Again, I'm only indexing this piece of media because it becomes the source fact. The location, the ceremony type. Here's where that cultural connection comes in. We've got a ceremony type, civil, custom, handfasted, modern, religious, traditional by culture. And then next, we have a union type. It's going to be a little bit more detail on what kind of relationship this was. And again, the details create the texture. So we're going to close that one and we're going to explore the events. In the event header, let's pretend this is a different picture. We have the ability to select a profile and then name the event. So if it's somebody's bat mitzvah, you put in the, whatever title you would like to name the event. And then in our event type, we have all of these different options. If it's an academic or a school, look at that. bands, dances, field trips, graduations, lectures, clubs, you name it. If it is business, charity events, conventions, exhibits, all kinds of events. Now you're asking yourself right now, why do I need all of these drop downs? There's a very simple reason why we decided to do indexing instead of tagging. If you think about tagging, you have to keep a consistent naming convention for your tags throughout your entire collection. So when you pass it on to other generations, they have to maintain the exact same tagging structure. So if I put in WW2 and my next generation puts in WWII and my next generation spells out World War II, they're never going to find each other. And since we're a legacy system and the purpose for gathering all of this texture is to pass forward your legacy, we want to make sure that it stays consistent. That's why we have all of these little indexing lists. So when we get down to things like cultural and social, this is all of your different cultural ones. And if you don't find it in here, you go all the way down to the bottom and you can add your own. Something like a holiday. I know we're spending a little bit of time here, but this is where a lot of your inclusivity comes in. Your holidays, we tried to gather holidays from as many cultures and as many countries as we could, just to make sure that it was there and available for you. And again, if you go down to the bottom, you'll find add additional. So let's take a look at specific historical. So this one is all of your wars, your natural disasters, your things like that. So you're thinking to yourself, am I really going to scroll? Am I really going to scroll all the way down these lists? You don't have to. How about if I am talking about Katrina? Whoop, if I spell it right. Hurricane Katrina. Each one of these drop downs are searchable. The World Trade Center construction. See, there's your World War II. So we're not relying on maintaining a tagging structure. We already have a built-in indexing structure. Okay, let's go a little bit farther. We've got some dates, the attendees, the locations, all of that fun stuff. Oh, I just realized I missed a very fun part on the union ceremony. Let's go back here. So we're back here in union ceremony. We took a step back and we're looking at the connection between Michael and Jacqueline. And we explored all of this. Look at this little drop down right here, ceremony member. If we include the roles that each one of these people played, Tiffy was the maid of honor. That gives her a little bit of hierarchy for you to understand their connection. Caleb was the best man. Marisol was the bridesmaid. And in this field, you can also add multiple. So look at all of these people were attendees. All of these people had actual roles in the wedding. So that gives you a little bit more of a deeper understanding of a person's connections. Now over here in vital records, remember we had the vital statistics in the person profile where we could add in the information to watch them grow. Over here in vital records variable, we have the same fields. So if you're looking at a piece of media here in the media indexer that provides you with new information, you can enter it here and it will automatically curate itself back to the person profile. That's the great cyclical relationship that we've created within our system. You do one entry and it just spits itself out into everybody's profiles, person and location. So here we have the options, the same complexion, left and right-handed, blood type. We have the ability to add our gender identity. And here we also have the option to add sexual orientation if that is something that is important to you. So I know when you're looking at these fields, you're thinking a lot of this indexing is really overwhelming. Well, I promise you, very little information is actually necessary. You put in the information that you want. I tell people sometimes, I'm the one that's going to use every single field because that's what I want to do. Laverne's the one that's just going to name the people and move on and let the next generation figure it out. That's fine because the whole purpose is to store it, is to preserve it. Preserve the story the way that you want your story told. All right, so that was wandering around in some of our indexer headers. Now, the next thing we were going to talk about is some of the additional fields. Now, we're still working on releasing some of these indexer headers, and that's okay, because when we finally finalize all of the fields that you see above, we're going to give you a great way to transfer your notes into those indexer headers. But the point is to capture it now, capture those details now before they're lost. So let's look at some of these. Dependent placement. That is going to be your foster care, your orphanages, your adoption, your guardianship. It's information about the journey of a child or a conservative adult that is in guardian care. You can put any of their notes in here, and that preserves part of their journey. Education history. We're not going to constrain you to universities and your typical education. These are certifications. These are classes that you've taken. These are all of the different ways that you can go about giving yourself information and education, improving yourself. Employment history. Did you wait tables to put yourself through college at the local burger joint, or were you a Fortune 500 CEO? All of those different pieces, those different journeys, you shouldn't just, in my opinion, you shouldn't just capture those high level ones that are sparkly that you put on a resume. You would capture all of them, because that working nights at the burger joint in college gave you an education. It helped shape who you are and how you value things and the type of environments, the lessons learned. That is just as important as that Ivy League law degree that took you to wherever it took you. Each one of those steps are the pieces that created that texture that we were talking about. Now, servitude. This is the one where I say, even the bad things matter. The bad things often shape us more than the good. Servitude is where you would put in enslavement information, Holocaust information, human trafficking, indentured servitude. All of those details have a massive impact on a person as a whole, and they require documentation in order to form that complete story to color your world. Objects and items. I love this one. What's the reason behind why mom bought that ugly vase? There might be a reason that turned it into a family heirloom. Now, you may want to go put it in the yard sale until you learn the story behind it, and then it starts taking on a life of its own. Personal activities. This is our hobbies, our clubs, our organizations, our FFA, our Rotary Club, our informal Wednesday bridge club. Grandma always had those weird little sandwich tea plates that I now have. Pets and animals. Pets are family too. They deserve to be included because they are part of our personalities. We can't help it. But there's also the animals. If you're a horse breeder, if you are a Westminster dog show, your dog is a huge part of your environment, your Westminster environment. Physical appearance. This is the one that I was talking about, Grandpa's tattoo. So this is tattoos, scars, and piercings. Think about the information that you're going to get. If I'm somebody that has big sleeves on my arms, big tattoo sleeves, if I don't tell people why they're there, they're not going to understand what was so important to me that I felt the need to ink it permanently on my body. So it's not just Grandpa's war tattoo. It is the casual ones that people have on a daily basis. I don't have any, but those of you that do know very well that people ask you constantly, hey, what's that? Hey, what's that? Well, it's part of your journey. So let's capture it here. Physical media. This is more of a source citation note. This is all about, is it a linen parchment handwritten with a quill pen, or is it a slide? Is it a 16 millimeter film? Now you say, how does that have to do with inclusivity? It can tell you about the person and their stage in life. If it is a very, very early photograph, It can tell you a little bit about their financial placement within society or the surrounding people that gave them access to that kind of media. Political affiliation. This is not just the president of anything. Political affiliations can go from the community level, city, state, country, global. Political comes in all forms. And this is where you start showing your connection to other people and how you participated in shaping of people's environments. Religious affiliation. This is a big piece of people's lives, regardless of what your denomination is. So your level of participation, the activities that you participated in, the people that were part of the congregation, they're all a massive part of the story. The source citations, it's your typical words. But what you can also use this for is this stuff came from grandma's attic or your great grandma's attic. And that tells you what great grandma deemed to be important, what great grandma deemed to be worth preserving. Military history. We all know this. Military history is a commitment to serve. That is a huge texture. It's a big color in someone's life and deserves preservation. Travel and transport. How is this inclusive? Well, how about including your community service? Was it Doctors Without Borders? When you would travel to a third world country, would you take an extra suitcase full of art supplies to donate to the local schools? What was the impression that you made? So were you community service or were you an explorer? Did you go down to the Amazon and jet boat up a stream to spend a week with the indigenous people and learn their culture? So travel isn't just, I got on a plane because the plane was parked in front of my house. It is driven with purpose. So that's a lot to take in, isn't it? That's a whole lot to take in. But what I wanted to make sure that everybody understood is that inclusivity is all about the textures, the pieces and the parts. It represents life as a whole. And that texture is found in the overlap of those three sections we started with. It's the relational influences, the societal influences, and the personal expressions. Three categories that make up who we are as individuals. And by including all of the people, you include the influence in how they shaped each other. It leads to clues and additional collections that you can explore. This is a fun point that I like to make to people all the time that kind of makes them go, how many photographs are you in that are not in your own collection? And what I mean by that is generally the photos that you have, you're holding the camera. So you're not in them unless it's a selfie or you ask the gentleman at the fountain to take a picture of the family. When you start looking at photo collections from your family, from your network, you're in them a little bit more and a little bit more. But let's bring that back in. When we're indexing all of the people that are a part of your life, these three different sections, the relational and the societal and the personal, when we collect those people and their relationship to us, we can go and connect with their family, with their people, and find an additional layer looking back at our own. So we're not just capturing names and dates, we're capturing sources that you can explore. So even capturing the slightest detail provides texture and color. That's pretty much what I want the takeaway to be in this. It doesn't matter how small, it's part of your life, so it all means something. Okay, that's Archoral in a very big nutshell. It's a big application. Just remember that you don't have to use every single field. It is built to be used as minimally or as excessively as you want it to be. We are very excited to have had you here today and happy archiving.